Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mike. I am a physical therapist, and today we're going to go over one of my favorite hip mobility routine. Now, let me be clear. By no means do I think that a mobility routine is going to solve all your pain and problems. However, I do think that there is some value into static stretching and taking your body through end range of motion. So this is one of my favorite mobility routines, and we're going to jump right into it. So the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start with a quadruped rocking. So you're going to start on hands and knees. Shoulders going to be stacked right over the wrist. And you're going to try to get your knees underneath your hips here. And all we're doing right now is we're working on some nice, easy rocks. And we're going to hang out here for about 30 seconds. Taking some deep breaths here. We're focusing on lengthening the tissue on the back of the hip, folding our knees over. This might be a little tough for you on the quads. Just go nice and slow and go to whatever you can tolerate by sagging back. Good. Now we're going to get into a frog rocking position. Now this next position we're focusing on the inner thigh areas, and so we're going to have you spread the knees a little wider, and you're still going to do that nice rocking motion back. You're going to feel it right on the inner thigh growing area like I mentioned, and you can choose to have your feet turned out, or if you want to have your feet turned in, I'm going to leave that up to you. We're going to go 30 seconds once again here. Always focusing on some nice, deep breaths. Just like that. A couple more seconds here. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and get into a runner stretch. Doesn't matter which leg you're going to start with because you're going to do both sides anyways. Okay. One leg is going to come forward. The other leg is going to be extended behind you. Now I'm focusing on trying to stay nice and tight through my hip. Okay. What I mean by nice and tight is I don't want to be dropping my knee to the ground. If you can, try to keep that leg extended. If you squeeze that butt cheek that's going backwards, you're actually going to feel a nice good pull on the front of the hip here. So I can post myself up with my hand. I can hold on to my opposite knee if I want for some support. And we're going to hang out here for about 30 seconds as well. And I can really start to find those tight areas by moving laterally, moving forward, right? It's not just a passive stretch. You're not just sitting here. Okay, but you're actually shifting your body, finding those tight areas of where you are feeling maybe a little more stiff today. Breathing. I can try to raise my chest up a little higher. Good. We're going to go ahead and switch sides. Once again, trying to drive this knee forward. Back leg is staying nice and straight if possible. You can prop yourself up here. And try some gentle rocks. We'll hang out here for another 20 seconds. And each of these stretches, we're trying to hold for at least 30 seconds. If you have time for about 60 seconds to hold, obviously you're going to feel better. But 30 seconds definitely does the job. And it's a time for us to really just check in with ourselves, having that body awareness, seeing if maybe one hip is tighter than the other, seeing if you're holding stiffness in your glutes or maybe in your hip flexors. Okay. All righty. We are going to get into a deep squat hold now. Okay. We're gonna go a little wider than shoulder width apart here. Toes are gonna be slightly facing outward. And what I'm doing is I'm using my elbows to basically drive my knees outward here. Same thing, you can either choose to hang out here in a static stretch, or you can focus on biasing one hip and ankle. A lot of benefits to this one. Ankle mobility, a lot of calf stretching here. Also, it's going to stretch the inner thigh. And the deep squat hold is just one of my favorite stretches to get into, especially in the morning when I'm very stiff. Trying to keep my chest up nice and tall if I can, using my elbows to drive my knees outward. We're just hanging out here for a little while more. Good. From here, we can get down into a straddle position. I tend to hold a lot of my stiffness in my adductor muscles, so this is perfect for that. Legs are gonna basically go as wide as you can grab them, okay? Feet up or down, doesn't really matter. Okay, what we're trying to do is stay nice and tall through our spine. And we're slowly trying to fold over, reaching your hands straight down in front of you. And with each breath, I want you to focus on inching your fingers a little further away from yourself. Your knees are definitely going to want to start to bend as you do this. So you can focus on driving those knees down nice and straight, still focusing on leaning forward. And you'll notice with each breath, if you just relax, that tension will start to release. Okay, bottoms up squat, probably one of my favorite stretches for the hips, especially for opening up the hamstrings. So we're gonna start by kind of getting in this standing position. You're gonna grab onto your toes and you're just kind of straightening your knees, putting up as much tension on the hamstrings as you can, and then slowly easing down into that squat, getting into almost the same position as that deep squat hold. Chest up high. Now we're going back and forth between allowing our hips to drop and then allowing our hips to rise up. Nice pull through the hammies. Spend a few more seconds here. More. Okay, good. For some of you that might have some knee pain, you might want to, for this next one, use maybe a towel or a cushion to put underneath the knees. Support your shins a little easier there, but we're gonna try without it for today's session. And I like to call this kind of like boogie boarding. And what we're doing is we're basically supporting our body weight with our hands. And we should almost feel like our hips are doing this rolling motion. Okay, and my feet are just, if you take a look at the back here, my feet are just folded down. But I'm seeing just where my attention is held out today, because every day is a little bit different. If I'm feeling really bold here, I can really start to go a little bit further with that range of motion. And for some of you, maybe just here is enough. You know, you might be feeling enough stretch on the quadricep muscles that this might be enough for you, and that's okay, right? As you get more comfortable with this and you're able to kind of sit your heels a little further back, you'll begin to realize that that shifting becomes a little easier. But if you don't have that, or if you don't have access to that, that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. We're gonna spend another 10 seconds here. Perfect. Now, let's go and take our bodies into a sideline, not sideline, but a side lunge position. Okay, this one, once again, I'm trying to keep my chest up nice and tall. If I can straighten my knee, that's great, okay? And I can turn my toes up if I want to. I'm gonna let you use that preference as far as your feet position. Now, for the foot, I do want it stacked underneath the knee there, okay? So we're not going outward here, and we're not going inward. I kind of have it facing at an angle here. Supporting myself up with my elbow. I can even use this hand to kind of drive this hip back and provide a gentle mobilization there on the hip there, okay? But now I'm gonna feel a lot of pull through the inner thigh area. Very good one to start prepping yourself for just a basic squat. One of my favorite ones where I'm adding some weight to my squat and I'm warming up, maybe with the barbell or some dumbbells. The side lunge is a great way to really open up my hips here. Another 10 seconds, we'll hang out here. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to the other side. And sometimes when I'm doing some of these routines, you have one side that's tighter than the other. Most of us have some asymmetries going on. So I'll tend to spend another 15, 20 seconds on that side. So for me, my left hip is typically a little bit tighter than my right. And so I'm gonna hang out here for a little longer. Once again, I can provide that gentle mobilization by gently pushing down on the hip. Don't overpressure it. None of this should be painful. It's not comfortable, but should not be painful, okay? Allowing your body to continue to breathe through these positions, not performing any Valsalva maneuver, holding our breath, right? You're not gonna be able to achieve much progress when we're holding our breath here. Good. Perfect. And we're gonna finish up with our last stretch on each hip. We're gonna get into a 90-90 with our hip. So basically I'm taking that front leg, doesn't matter which side you do because you're gonna do both sides. I'm taking that front leg, putting it out in front of me, trying to make a right angle, a 90-degree angle with my knee and my hip as much as I can. Back leg is gonna sweep behind me. And I'm just sitting up nice and tall. Spend about 30 seconds here. Now I can choose if I wanna sit up nice and tall and kind of lean forward, and maybe even involve your lower back a little more if you head towards that front leg. Or you can head in the other direction. So these stretches are not meant to be one way, right? They're made for you to develop a foundation so that you can learn how to freestyle and go through what feels good for your body. But by no means is one way the right way, right? So I'm just providing you with a structure of some things that you can start to add into your daily routine. And these things are going to be helpful, especially if you have a job that requires you to sit a lot, or if you have a job that requires you to drive a lot, which that's what my job requires, is a lot of driving. So I definitely make sure that I'm opening up my hips on a weekly basis. So Let's go and switch to the other side. Once again, trying to get that front leg at 90 degrees, also that back leg at 90 degrees. Sitting up nice and tall, using that arm to support yourself. And working on nice and easy, kind of leaning forward. We'll hang out here for about 30 seconds. I'm just finding those tight areas. All right, there you have it, my favorite hip mobility routine. I hope you found it helpful. Now, if you found value in this video, please feel free to subscribe at the button below. Also, feel free to save this video to a playlist so you can access it later. Thanks again for joining me today. Remember, train smarter, not harder. Thank you.